A major storm over the Great Lakes, a cold front sweeping through the east, and we've got heavy rain and thunderstorms and even what's left of a squall line moving through parts of the area. We'll get into all of that and talk about what's left of this week and the weekend and dabble a little bit in the long range. And who knows what other surprises lurk tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which, of course, you can lend your support very easily by doing your Amazon shopping using our Amazon referral link. Why, you ask? Because it's an easy way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just do your normal Amazon shopping, and Amazon will just send us a little bit of coin for sending you there. It's an easy, quick way. It doesn't cost you one extra cent. So we appreciate those of you who have done so or may consider to do so, shopping our Amazon referral link. So, cold front sweeping through. I had a wonderful night last night, Joe Rayo. The front, of course, approached here yesterday evening with severe storms that were moving through the Gulf states. We had screaming winds, uh, 40 to 50 miles an hour. They were sustained every bit of 35 to 40 at times, and gusts into the 50s, maybe even 60. Trees down all over the place. Power outages all over the place here. I lost power last night just as I was reading a murder mystery, and it basically was, and the murderer is, and the lights went out. It's that sort of a night. 12 hours without power. Got it back this morning at 10 o'clock, and things are a lot calmer. 40 degrees here right now with light rain here in North Georgia. And some areas up by you getting hit fairly hard this evening with some heavy rainfall and wind and some thunder and lightning too.
Well, we're going to have the radar in a very, very few moments, and we'll tell everybody what they can expect in the next few hours. Although I think the worst of it will be between now and midnight tonight.
All right. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board and to those of you who are not on the chat board, but as I like to put it, lurking in the background. We're glad you're here for tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when a storm is around. And we'll add an extra show. We'll let you know. So make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, do by all means show the fact that you do by simply hitting the like button. Joe
That's all you have
likes,
to do.
yeah,
That's
that's
all
all
we're
you
asking for is to hit the like button.
hit the like button. Oh, and then
Yes.
shop the Amazon referral link. All right, you ready to go with the radars?
Yes, we will hit the share button. I'm going to do
By
that
all
right now.
means.
And hitting it and sharing it. And here we go. We'll start off with one of my favorite towns, Upton, New York, the National Weather Service in New York City. It looks like, Joe, from this viewpoint or this perspective, that the heaviest showers have now passed New York City and the immediate tri state area, now working their way in across central Connecticut, central Long Island. Still a trail or a tail, if you will, of heavy moisture. You can see that in the yellows and oranges back over into the area around, well, just to the south of Sandy Hook, New Jersey, north of Toms River, and all of that activity racing along to the east on a west to east track. So, and you can even see on the last few frames of the loop that some of this activity kind of consolidated into a very narrow line of heavy rain and showers. There might even have been, I did not hear it locally here in Putnam Valley, but for some spots there may have been some lightning and thunder. The activity, again, racing away to the east, and the back edge looks like it's already into western New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. So this precipitation may end a lot quicker. It may be over with by, let's say, 9 or 10 o'clock tonight. Let's check out other
By
areas.
the
Let's
way,
go down.
I'm seeing on some of the observations on Long Island that there's wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour. The inland areas are mostly in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range on the gusties. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Well, this activity could lead to some brief power outages. Yours truly had one. I know you had one for about 12 hours last night. Even up here in my neck of the woods, we had a brief, maybe 2-minute power outage. And it's interesting because the local municipalities here, they finally have gotten around to cutting down the trees on my road, up and down the road, and that's to try to preclude power outages because they are very close to power lines. And last thing you want is to have a tree fall on a power line, then you're out of power for a lot longer than 2 or 3 minutes. But yet, even though they did all of that work, and still doing it actually, we ended up with a little bit of a power drop. We were out for a couple of minutes, but came right back up. Anyway, you can see on this view from Dover Air Force Base, there's that line, that snaky, narrow line of heavy precip that is now working its way away to the east. And again, you can see how the back edge of the heavy-duty shower activity seems to be now past Delaware, past Maryland, eastern Pennsylvania, and is now working its way off to the east of New Jersey, and it probably will be doing that in the next hour or two. Let's go to the north and east. Let's go up to Boston, and we can see that in Boston, none of this has reached them yet, but you can see all the heavy-duty stuff over Connecticut and western and central Massachusetts, so it won't be long before Beantown gets hit with some rather heavy rainfall. By the way, here at my house, the rain gauge, last I looked, and that was about an hour and a half ago, but we had at least 1.5 inches of rain, and maybe even have a bit more since then. Any case, all of this activity again racing away to the east. Let's go up to Albany to see if anything is happening up there. Of course it is. Right along, looks like the line is right, when we start the loop, it's right along I-87, and then it shifts over into, again, the area around western Massachusetts, the Berkshires, northwestern Connecticut, on into western sections of Vermont. And again, all of this racing along. This is a cold front. The cold front will be working its way past many areas in the next few hours. And even though it's a cold front, as I mentioned yesterday, there is not a teleconnection. In other words, even though the winds will kick over into the west and west-northwest from a strong, gusty, southerly direction that we've seen much of the day today, and you say, okay, once the winds go to west-northwest, it's going to turn colder. Not necessarily, because aloft, the winds are still from the south and southwest, and we have to wait until the upper level winds teleconnect with the lower level winds, the winds down at the surface, in order to draw in the colder air. So tomorrow, we're going to have temperatures again, probably in the mild 50s, and then tomorrow night, when the teleconnection occurs between the upper and the lower levels, that's when we'll get into a colder airflow, and that's when you'll notice Friday, Saturday, Sunday temperatures mostly in the low to mid 40s and nighttime temperatures in the teens and 20s. So it's still going to be balmy. It's still going to be warm out there for about another 24 hours before things start cooling on down. But the triggering mechanism, the cold front, is working its way through as I speak to you now, and will be out of our hair again by later this evening in terms of precipitation. Here's Binghamton, and you can see a lot of the activity here moving along away to the east. There are a few renegade showers back here in central sections of New York State of no great concern, no big deal. They'll probably become more widely scattered and may even dissipate by the time we get to later tonight. I want to go down to the south. Let's go to Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina. I thought there might still be some heavy activity off to the east over in coastal sections of South Carolina, but you can see not all that much to write home about. Let's go to Morehead City, North Carolina, Newport, and there you see the really heavy activity. Look at all those deep shades of red moving off of the outer banks of North Carolina out into the ocean. This is the activity that over the last 24 hours has been bringing the threat of high winds and tornadic activity to the southeast, but now all of that with the front pushing offshore and clearing away, and as you can see now, it looks like North Carolina's out in the clear, and we'll enjoy some dry weather. Joe, I think
check out L.A.
We'll go to L.A. Let's go to Los Angeles.
And
And
they have in the mountains inland, of course, they have winter storm warnings up for. I was just looking at Big Bear Lake in Southern California. They're forecasting 10 to 18 inches of snow there.
well, here's Ventura County, Los Angeles, and you can see it's almost like somebody took a knife and cut the precipitation, the northern edge. I don't know. Is that really? Is that really? Yeah, I guess it is. It.
That looks like there's missing data.
I know. It
Yeah,
looks weird.
see if you
Let
can
me
get
go.
a radar a
Let me
little
go.
further north.
Let's go to Edwards Air Force Base, and you can see this looks a little bit more logical, if you will. Again, showing this activity moving across Southern California. It's a pretty good area with light to moderate, and occasionally you'll see a flash of yellow, which indicates perhaps some heavy precipitation. Um, let's go down to Yuma, Arizona. He's a pearl diver from Yuma and been out of work for some time now. Uh,
Ah,
George Carlin. George Carlin. Southern California and southwestern Arizona, not showing all that much on the Yuma radar. Let's go up to let's see, Las Vegas or Lost Wages. They've got some heavy activity moving across southern sections of Nevada and moving out of California and into Nevada and also into western sections of Arizona. So there's some good precipitation here
it's like a
in
boilerplate over Las Vegas.
yeah, it does. It
You know,
does.
it's circular too,
Yeah.
like a gambling chip.
Let's spin the wheel, right?
Right.
Did you hear, by the way, that last Friday, outside of the studios of Wheel of Fortune, Vanna White was robbed of 16 G's? Not $16,000, but 16
16
G's.
G's. Gotcha.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Sad, sad but true. Okay. By the way, happy birthday to Chris Alley. I've known Chris for forever. Uh, happy birthday to you, Chris, and many more. The big 80 and counting. Let's make sure we keep counting them, Chris. Here's the watches and warnings tonight, and they're starting to diminish. They have diminished in the east. They still have flash flood watches up in western New York. We've got wind advisories still lingering in the Appalachians, including me. And Ferris, as the growing season has started, they've got frost and freeze warnings and frost advisories up in northern and central Georgia. Also, some wind advisories in South Carolina, in southeast Georgia, and northeast Florida. And we are looking at wind advisories around the Great Lakes in Illinois, Indiana, northwest Ohio, and Michigan, and southern Wisconsin. Winter weather advisories in northern Michigan. On the lower peninsula and on the upper peninsula, we've got winter weather advisories and blizzard warnings still up. Same goes winter weather advisories in northeastern Wisconsin. This is just the end of this the ending part of this storm. And meanwhile, in upper low and associated surface low pressure moved out of the Pacific and into Southern California. And we've got winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in the mountains around Los Angeles and San Diego, also in the Sierra Nevadas. And much of the state of Nevada is under either a winter weather advisory. Well, they're all under a winter weather advisory except for one county that is in a winter storm warning. Winter storm warnings across Wyoming, southeast Idaho, the middle of Utah, western Colorado. We've got high wind watches, wind advisories, and red flag warnings in New Mexico, as well as in West Texas. And I love this enhanced satellite loop. I really do. I really, really.
And it's
It's
funny. You and I were talking with a few other longtime meteorologists this afternoon, and one of them was actually, I'll tell you who it was Bill Corbell, showing us some old satellite images that he must have held over from his days when he was at WOR. And I mean, you look at them now versus what we have available to us at the present time, and you talk about antiquated. I mean,
Oh
like
yeah,
I mean, like, this is the stuff that we relied on all those years ago, and now you're right, Joe. I mean, the stuff that we have available now is just incredible.
I know it really is. And think about when we're long gone from this earth, what they'll have. It's amazing how much technology has changed, how we do things in the weather world. Well, in just about in everything we do. The front moving through the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, very well defined here. These these brighter yellows that you see out offshore, thunderstorms that moved off the Carolinas and Virginia and South Carolina, and now they're well out to the east. Now, of course, the upper low spinning over the Great Lakes, and we've got clouds rotating around that all the way down into southern Georgia and southern Alabama. Wouldn't be a surprise if some of the higher elevations in the southern Appalachians get a little bit of snow tonight because I'm already down. Let me see, I'm already down to 37 here. And I noticed that at least yesterday, I didn't really look close today, but the GFS actually had me getting a little bit of snow here tonight. But not, I haven't checked. The last time I was out about an hour ago, it was light rain and 39. And you can see the moisture that's coming off the Pacific and into the west. It's actually rather impressive. That area is going to be moving east over the next couple of days and not doing anything to the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states, a la the GFS a couple of days ago. Here, this is the wide view of the radar tonight. There's still some bands of precipitation. There's one in central Pennsylvania, another one in western Pennsylvania, all rotating around the upper low. You see the snow up in northern Michigan and into Wisconsin. There's some light precip in parts of Indiana and into Kentucky and southern Ohio. It's probably mostly snow. And then out in the west, it's not often that we see activity on radars out here, and it's even less often when you see it as all this coverage that is evident. And some heavier rains east of Los Angeles, moving northeastward. I mean, you've got some heavier bands of precipitation further north. That's all headed into the Sierra Nevadas, and you see all the snow that's in Nevada and up into Utah, northwest Arizona, and southern Idaho. The Storm Prediction Center. What's left of the severe weather risk tonight is a enhanced risk. Actually, it's probably mostly done now. They just haven't had a chance to update this. So if we look back at the radar and go to the east, all the showers and storms are offshore Virginia and North Carolina. There's another band up here in Northwest Virginia that's got a few cells in there. There's even some thunderstorms up in central PA around Williamsport. You can see them pretty well there on the radar. So I don't, how much of that's going to be left, I don't know. But anyway, they have the slight risk extending up into northwest Pennsylvania and up into northern Virginia. The enhanced risk, I think, in southeast Virginia and eastern North Carolina is pretty much done. Also, a chance for thunderstorms in northern California tonight and in southern Oregon. And then tomorrow, we have it all in the west with the chance for some thunderstorms across California, except the far north and the far south, over southern Nevada, northern Arizona, all of Utah, western Colorado, southwest Wyoming, and southeast Idaho. And it's going to be snow that's going to likely come out of those storms. And as far as precipitation is concerned, we're seeing again what you see in the east is mostly whatever's left over from what's going on tonight. There'll be a system moving across the southern states as we get into the weekend, and that produces another half to three-quarters of an inch in this zone. And in the west, especially in California, up and down the coast and even the inland areas, you're looking at anywhere from an inch and a half to maybe 3, 4, or even 5 inches as you head further north, and the same for the Sierra Nevadas, and also fairly active in the Rockies and in the Wasatch, looking at three-quarters of an inch to an inch and a half of melted precip. So put that as snow, and you're talking one to maybe even as much as a couple of feet in some places. So,
And
Ed, I'm
and
sorry, Joe.
no, I'm just gonna say that back in the day, in the month of March, we here in New York City used to get on occasion a foot or two of snow, and it doesn't appear likely to happen in the immediate or the foreseeable future, unfortunately, for all of you
Uh,
snow lovers.
is this the third March in a row where we could have wind up with no snow at all, no accumulating snow? The third in a row or fourth in a row?
I will have to look that up. I'll have to
Well,
check into that. It'll take me about a minute, but it has been not the greatest situation for snow lovers. March used to be a good month. I mean, I remember in a couple of years right off the get go, right as soon as came in here, boom, we had a significant snowfall to deal with. But it doesn't seem to be doing that anymore.
yeah, at least certainly not in the last few years. And not much is going to happen. So a lot of times when you get a major storm, the atmosphere exhales and has to sort of regroup. So this western system, which is actually not a half bad looking system that's coming from the Pacific and moving its way through the Rockies. You can see all the snow that's being produced with this. But as it moves eastward, it just basically falls apart. And you can see the low sort of disappears, or what's left of it moves Friday night into Kentucky, and then just gets absorbed by this particular storm system. The one tonight, a new low center forms near Nova Scotia, and just basically dominates the flow in the eastern part of the United States. Meanwhile, part of the upper low goes south in California and then moves across New Mexico and into Texas, and that low is suppressed and goes out underneath. And of course, the GFS mistakenly tried to hook up that system with the one that's coming down from Lake Winnipeg into the Great Lakes. And clearly, for the umpteenth time this winter, that's not happening. So they move through with separate systems. It looks like, other than maybe having to deal with some patchy clouds, uh, you're probably going to stay dry. I'm looking at this northern system coming down on Sunday, Sunday into Monday. That doesn't look like it's going to do much of anything. Uh, so, dry weather through the weekend, and I mean it is going to be a bit
Right
on the
on through.
windy side for you, but not crazy windy over the weekend. But no major storms around.
It looks like after the final drop of rain falls overnight tonight, we may very well be dry from tomorrow right on through the middle of next week.
Yeah, there's
So,
a
and
there's a
by the way,
look.
you asked about the scenario concerning snow in March in recent years. And this is for Central Park.
Right.
Now, last year in March, there was a great big trace of snow,
Okay.
and in 2023 March, 1/10 of an inch of snow at Central Park.
Okay.
And it's interesting that happened. And so, 1/10 of an inch in Central Park. I can tell you that we in Putnam Valley on the 14th of March 2023, we had 14 inches of snow in one sitting. And I remember that because the
All
next
right.
day
Yeah.
we picked up our rescue dog the next day, Mr. Sweeney. So it may not have done much in New York City, but up here in the boondocks, we did get a fairly large snowfall. That go around. That was, if I remember correctly. In fact, I do remember correctly. That was the elevation snow. That was the
Hmm.
snow where, depending upon how high up you were, you got more snow. There were places north of me, Joe, at 1,000 foot elevation that had close to 20 inches of snow. And meanwhile, down in the valley, I mean, you had to go down, let's say, to Route 6 in northern Westchester, where they're only at about an elevation of about 100 feet. I'm at about 500 feet. But down further south, they had maybe a 2, 3 slushy inches. That's about all. Higher up you went, the more snow you got. Central Park got only 1/10 of an inch out of that entire month of March. And then in 2022, March of 2022, they had 4/10 of an inch of snow. And in 2021, March, a trace of snow. Are you getting the picture?
Yeah.
March
You
of
had to go back to when?
You had to go back to 2019. In 2019, at Central Park, they had 10.4 inches. And then the year before, 2018, 11.6. 2017, 9.7. So it seems like all of a sudden, once we got past 2019, boom, all of a sudden March became a drought, a snow drought.
Right. So if you add those big numbers with the small numbers and divide them by two, it works out to about 5 inches, which is about the normal for March, 5 inches.
Right.
So there you go. And of course, as we go through the month, as each passing day goes by, we get if there were to be a snow threat, we get into that time of year where it's usually elevation driven anyway.
Now we were working together at FiOS One in 2018. In April of 2018 at Central Park, after a month of March that had 11.6 inches of snow, and was that the year? Was that the year of the four Easter?
That was the four nor'easters. Yeah,
Yeah, because in April of 2018, following up on that, 5.5 inches of snow for April. I
yeah,
don't even remember that, but that's what happened in April of 2018.
yeah. I think that was early in the month too, if I remember correctly. No
Yeah.
matter. Looking at the long range, yeah, you're right. Nothing goes on through the middle of next week. There is a system that comes into California on Monday in Southern California, another one that moves east, and that makes it into the middle of up and down the Mississippi River Valley. So it tries to bring, you're probably going to have to wait till Thursday or Friday of next week. And then there's more energy coming into California behind that moves eastward, and the European wants to take another big load of the Great Lakes around the middle of the month, and then that goes out. Then you got something in the plains that heads to the Great Lakes again behind that. That looks somewhat impressive. But in terms of the upper air pattern, folks, when I was looking at it today, it is just not the kind of upper air pattern that you want to see, especially in March. You need it to be you need it to be blocky, and unfortunately, the way the upper air pattern is set up, you do have a blocking high over Greenland, but the flow across the United States is very strong, west to east, and weather systems are just going to kind of move along. The block actually disappears, so we just go to trough ridge, one trough goes out, ridge builds in, another trough goes in behind it, and on it goes. You're not gonna be able to do much with anything snow wise with the way the upper air is set up. So that we might go the whole month and not see much of anything as far as accumulating snow is concerned. I said we might, because you never know that there can always be a last minute shift in things. So.
Maybe,
You have
maybe.
Briller Jeopardy tonight,
Yes, I do.
so let's do it.
I do. I do. I just want to check the latest 66 likes so far on this rather semi-stormy Wednesday night. And let me just get the Briller Jeopardy questions up here for all of you. And we will have that in just a very few moments. Where is Briller Jeopardy? Oh, there it is. Okay, so on this Briller Jeopardy tonight, we have average snowfall in March for the following cities, starting with Baltimore. How many inches in the month of March, on average, does Baltimore receive of snow?
Well, if New
Except
York
for
gets 5, I'll say Baltimore gets, I want to say either 3 or 4. So I'll say 3.
right on the nose.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
And a lot of people
congratulations.
said 3 on the chat board. So too many to
Yes,
name, but
yes.
a lot of you did say 3.
Plain video said pi, 3.14, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot. Yesterday was Pi Day, wasn't it? No, no, it
No,
wasn't. No, we're coming up on that.
right.
We're coming. Pi Day would be
The 14th.
the 14th. That's a week from Friday. All right. So how about Boston?
I will say for Boston, so if New York City is 5. 3, 7. I want to say either 8 or 9, so I'll say 8.
Oh my God. Joe, you're hot tonight. So is Rich Rotsmansky. He's got 8 too, and so is Jason Fox. So there you go. How about how about the Windy City, Chicago?
Oh, this is a tough one for me. Um, I will say 9.
Would you say 9?
9.
Uh, Too much.
Too much. Okay. Rich Rothmansky says 5.
Rich is very close. Rich is in snake country with that 5.
Mike Waterhouse Bonsai said 6.
Mike Waterhouse Bonsai, you hit it. I'll give you a bell ring. 6. There you go. Suzanne DeAngelis, who was a big fan, 6. Chris DePedia, 6. Chuck Cardillo, 6. Frank Scalera, 6. A lot of people got it with 6.
Mm-hmm.
So if Chicago was 6, and Boston was 8, and Baltimore was 3, what possibly could be Cleveland be?
Well, they get lake effect there, so it could be a little tricky. I will say, I'll say, I want to say either 8 or 9. So I'll say 9.
Joe, you were right there almost. Very close. Snake
Okay.
country.
So Joe Z says 10.
And Joe Z, you got it
And
with 10.
Scalera, too.
And
Frank
Scalera.
Scalera's got 10.
So there you go. How about now, if Cleveland is 10 with lake effect, what do you think Buffalo gets?
God. I will say, I'll say 14.
Oh, Joe. Unbelievable.
14? Oh,
14. You're hot. You were hot, my friend. You're hot today.
it's 3 out of 5.
So,
3 out of 5.
so
3 out of
yeah.
5.
How about,
3 out of 5.
and here's the last one. This is the bonus. It's not Martha's Vineyard, and it's not Chatham, so it has to be Nantucket.
Nantucket. Nantucket. I want to say either 2 or 3, so I'll say 3.
Close. In
Close.
fact, very close. Snake
Um,
Country. Wikipedia said 3,
Don Menendez said 4,
and that's it.
and Mike Waterhouse Bonsai and Vincent
Said
Croce and
4.
Norm Roberts all say 4. So
Chuck
4 it
Cardillo said,
is.
and there it is.
You know, it just reminded me too with Nantucket. That's another thing that doesn't happen very often and hasn't happened for a long time is a winter where, and this used to happen a lot when we were younger, where storms pass to the south, but they pass close enough to where Cape Cod and Nantucket got significant snowfalls one after another, and New York City would miss out. Sometimes they would clip eastern Long Island. That doesn't seem to happen very much anymore.
You know what doesn't happen very much anymore either is the Bay effect, where you get that hook in Cape Cod, and the
Yeah,
winds right across that, and so it almost mimics a lake effect.
yeah,
And so they get Nantucket gets walloped. They get like a north northwest wind, but because the wind is blowing at just the right angle and speed, they get like one snow squall or line or ribbon of snow after another, and before you know it, they get like 8 or 10 inches of snow. Meanwhile, Boston gets nothing.
Do you want to, before we say goodnight, you want to touch, a few people are asking about the eclipse weather.
You know, it's looking like the hope for seeing it next Thursday night is going to hinge on a cold front. It looks, Joe, like there's going to be some kind of system is going to hit Southern California at the start of next week, Southern California, and that's going to race across the country, move through the Great Lakes area late Wednesday, early Thursday, and depending upon how fast and how quickly that storm will go. And it's going to go to our north now. I was saying yesterday or last night that I was hoping that maybe it would be suppressed to our south, but now the pattern is a bit clearer. It looks like we're going to have a storm passing to our north. It's going to have a front associated with it. And so, how quickly will that front be able to get through will determine whether or not we see the lunar eclipse next Thursday night. If it takes its sweet time, we'll be stuck under clouds and wet weather. If it moves rapidly enough, Thursday could be a showery, wet, dreary day, but maybe, just maybe, it'll start clearing behind the front later Thursday and Thursday night. So that's what everything will hinge on for us to see this next celestial spectacular. And on the chat board, I absolutely 100% agree with who was just on and said it's too early. And it is. It's still much too early to put anything specific out for a weather forecast. At least a couple of days from now, it will become a bit clearer whether or not that front might be able to make it through. Craig Carlberg. Too early for me to predict lunar eclipse weather just yet. And you're right, Craig. Again, as I said, depending upon how fast that thing moves, if it moves through quickly enough, we'll be okay. Even if it doesn't move through quickly enough, if it stays off to our west, we might be in a southwesterly flow, get mild air, and may just get a lot of high, thin clouds ahead of the front that really won't damage the view too much. But we'll see. We still got some time, still got a lot of waffle or wiggle room for later next week to see how this all pans out.
All right, great. Good to hear. All right, we can close it off tonight. And oh, I want to go to sleep. So everybody have a great night. We will be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time for the last show of the work week. So have a great night. Have a good day tomorrow. Stay safe. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, we'll see.
Say goodnight, Joe.
Good night, Joe.